Hi, I'm Alison Tedford, a business consultant and author and member of Kwakiutl First Nation. I was born Alison Seaweed. We survived because of our good humor. It's what Adavera, an elder in my community and an auntie of mine, said, lifting our spirits on a particularly sad day. We gathered in the aftermath of the confirmation of the mass graves of the children who attended Kamloops Residential School. We gathered to learn our language over Zoom in the middle of a pandemic, amidst grief unfolding in the headlines and in our communities. The aunties who were there to teach us sang us "You Are My Sunshine" in Kwakwala, and we laughed and we cried and we prayed. That scene, all of us learning our language together, singing and dancing, that was not what was supposed to happen according to the architects of the residential school system. They wanted to get rid of the Indian problem, to kill our language, arts, and culture until we were the same as everyone else. They tried to break our way of life, but they didn't succeed. Our cultures are resilient. The strength and beauty of my culture inspires me. I come from people who preserved and passed on a way of life, despite the threat of legal sanctions, despite the impacts of residential schools, despite a colonial government who did everything possible to stifle that which made us unique. We were and are resilient. Resilience is prized, but it is also weaponized. It's featured prominently in residential school denialism. So many times I've heard the stories of survivors who've struggled with trauma, denied or discredited because the wounds they carry are attributed to a lack of personal resilience rather than to the atrocities that they endured. The winding nature of their journey to healing is used to say no injury took place, because who can believe someone who has struggled with substances or who has not had reliable employment, a stable residence, or is not as connected to their community as one would hope? The symptoms of the condition of colonization are used to point at a different disease, personal failing. In that way, the expectation of superhuman resilience is weaponized against the individual. There's a perverse need to have a perfect victim in order to believe. Who's to say how much a person should be able to endure, and why should we demand that? The truth is messy and difficult and hard to carry, but that doesn't mean we should cast off the responsibility of learning the truth of what has taken place. Resilience is weaponized against the individual, but it's also weaponized against communities. The common traumatic experience of residential schools was designed to systemically extinguish the language, arts, and culture of Indigenous people. It was a tool of assimilation, and it did interrupt transmission. It did get in the way, and it did separate people from the traditional ways of their communities. But we are still here. The fact that our languages, cultures, and communities continue to thrive, the fact that Indigenous people continue to exist, is not evidence that it wasn't that bad, and it's a sign that we should just get over it. The strength of our communal armor does not mean the blade wielded against it was not sharp. Our resilience should not be held as evidence that the crime was not severe. I hear a conservative politician asking why flags were at half-mast so long, and I have to tell you that if you think that's a long time for a flag to fly so low, I have some bad news about how long the residential school system was allowed to continue. Because the truth is, it was far too long, and we did lose people, many people who should have grown up to be elders sharing our way of life, and their remains are being recovered after so many years of being hidden. A strong, resilient people are mourning the loss of their little ones, and the fact that we are still here to mourn does not mean that what happened wasn't tragic. We are resilient so we can sing and dance and pray together. We are resilient so we can gather and learn our language from afar, and we can defy the expectations of those who sought to harm us generations ago. Just because we are still standing doesn't mean it didn't hurt. We survived because of our good humor. Our ability to laugh now does not mean we do not have reason to cry. Our resilience is what gives us hope, reasons to hope for the future, but it shouldn't be used to deny our past. Thank you.